so much. First of all, thanks so much for being here. It's Saturday. There's a huge contingent across the country watching live right now. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about property management because I think that from my perspective, Patrick and I were just talking about this a while ago. You know, property management, incredible wealth could be created and is created every day by REIN members across the country using real estate as a tool, using real estate as a strategy. And property management is probably one of the areas that is the biggest swing, the biggest difference maker, whether or not people stay in the game, whether or not people do good or do great. Property management is often the difference maker. And the reason for that is because it's in property management that you're either going to achieve superior income and superior profits and therefore superior wealth, or it's by not doing a good job that you're going to have all the tenant problems, all the toilet problems, all of the other issues that come with clients, tenants. And as a result, that often takes people out of the game. I can't tell you how often, and folks, you know this because you've heard it yourself, especially REIN members listening across the country, you've heard it yourself where so many people get into the game of real estate, they invest in one property, they have a bad experience with tenants, and then they get out of the game and they literally missed millions and millions of dollars. Patrick, we have to do a missing millions segment on property management because millions of dollars of wealth are missed because of property management. So I'm here today to give you a system. I'm here today to show you a system, a 1, 2, 3, 4-step system on how to manage properly. And you can see this picture here if you're looking at this closely. This is a self-defense picture. You can see that first one looks especially painful, but this is a self-defense picture. And I actually look at property management as a self-defense. It's a defense move. It allows you to secure your investments. It allows you to secure your financial security. It allows you to secure your financial certainty if you do it right. And if you do it right, you get little to no vacancy. You get above average income and profits, and you get very few tenant problems and toilet problems. But the first question that really comes up right here, right now is, should you manage yourself? That is the best question. I get this all the time at Visture Property Group. We have a property management division that operates in Peterborough and in Orillia and in Hamilton, and we get this question all the time: should you manage yourself? And there's specific answer to that, and it really depends. It depends on, and we're going to answer this live today. We're also going to answer it at Acre again and again, because this is a question that often comes up for people: is, should I manage myself? And I'll tell you this, let's start with that question. See, management isn't cheap, folks. Management isn't cheap from one perspective. Management doesn't appear cheap from another perspective. Typically, property managers are charging somewhere between 8 and 12%. If they're charging you less than 8%, I would be careful. I'd be very careful, and I'd ask myself whether or not you're getting a good property manager. That's the first thing. If they're charging you above 12%, I would consider if they're too full, if they're managing too many doors, if they don't want the business, I would wonder. There are special cases where that could change, like Airbnb, student rentals, rooming houses, stuff like that. But 8 to 12% is the norm. And let's take the average of 10%. Okay, so let's just say you're renting a single family home or a duplex, or let's just take one single family home for $2,000 a month. And if you're renting that for $2,000 a month, that 10%, that's $2,400 a month. So if you're taking notes, and I hope you got paper and pencil ready, if you're taking notes, 10% of $2,000 a month is $200 a month, and that's $2,400 a year. Well, in some people's minds, that's a big deal. And there is no doubt that that is a good chunk of your cash flow that you're investing, hear me carefully, you're investing into property management. So I want you to consider this. I want you to consider this when it comes to property management, whether or not you should manage yourself or you should hire it out. First and foremost, consider the errors. Renting below market, which happens every single day if you're not on top of your market. If you rent below market, you are losing probably somewhere between $1,200 and $2,000 a year in income if you're renting below market. We just took over a property at Visture. They were renting the place for $1,100 a month, and I'm about to rent it for $1,900 a month next week. That is $800 a month difference. That's $9,600 a year. Renting below market is a common mistake made by people who don't know property management. So just be careful about that. Secondly, choosing the wrong tenants. If you choose the wrong tenant, and I'll show you today how not to choose the wrong tenant, but if you choose the wrong tenant and you have to kick them out, you're self-managing, you choose the wrong tenant, and then you got to kick them out, you want to evict them some way, somehow, it will cost you somewhere between $3,000 and $8,000 to do that. So think about that. If you hire the wrong contractor and you need some painting done, you need some electrical done, you need some plumbing done, whatever the case may be, these properties always need maintenance. We're going to talk about maintenance today. If you hire the wrong contractor, the average cost that will cost you, hiring the wrong person, will cost you $1,000 to $5,000 extra that you didn't have to spend. So think about that. Next, if you lose a tenant because of bad management, you're losing somewhere between $1,200 and $2,500 per year. And this is not to mention your time. This is not to mention the opportunity cost of missing a deal. If you're worried about being in the trenches, managing, you're tightening up pipes, you're fixing electrical problems, you're cleaning up garbage in properties, if you're doing that, that probably means you're missing deals because you're focused on the wrong thing. You're not focused on growing necessarily your portfolio. So you got to be careful about that. The other thing is that not to mention the frustration. Just look at that picture. Some of you, if you've managed your own properties, can relate to this. You have felt like this, like you've been yelling in the phone because of issues with tenants. Now, the whole thing is here, folks, is if you make these mistakes, we're looking at $1,200, $3,000. That's 4252 or 4252. 64. You're looking at $6,500 up to about $12,000 per year in mistakes if you don't manage properly. Now, here's what I'm here to tell you. If you make these mistakes I just took you through, if you make these mistakes, it costs you somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000. But if your management makes these mistakes, it'll cost you somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000. These mistakes will cost you whether you make the mistakes or your management does the mistakes. So this is the important thing. You can hire property management if you want, of course. And if they're going to manage properly and if they're going to prevent you from making these mistakes, that $2,400 a year is a steal of a deal for you not to lose $6,000 to $12,000 a year on average. I'm talking about one property here. Many of us as REIN members have 3, 5, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 properties. So think about the cost of this, but only hire it out to a property management firm that follows the type of system I'm going to take you through today. If they do not follow this kind of system, then do not hire them. So hiring a property management firm will not preclude you from making those mistakes. In fact, hiring the wrong property management firm will actually probably encourage them to make those mistakes if they're the wrong firm. You have to hire the right firm. You have to stay on top of things.